Koyomi Aragami is the typical antisocial high school student who throws his life away just to save a hot vampire girl. When he wakes up thinking it was a dream and goes outside, he looks up to the sky and his body is engulfed in flames. He's saved by a little girl that reveals that he's now an immortal vampire and he needs to pay 2 million yen to regain his humanity back. But before it reaches that point, Araragi was a normal student who always avoided having any friends. He thinks they might bring him trouble or make him feel jealous when they're happy. One day, while Koyomi was on his way home, all the lights in the city suddenly turned off. He was really surprised, but then he saw something really scary. There was a trail of blood leading underground in the subway. Koyomi followed the trail and found a woman who was badly hurt with a lot of blood around her. She asked for his help, but Koyomi was so scared that he had a panic attack and couldn't move. The woman then said that she needed Koyomi's blood, which reminded him of a rumor he had heard about a blonde vampire who wandered around the city at night. The woman introduces herself as Kiss Shot and tells Koyomi that she is a vampire and needs all of his blood to stay alive. Koyomi is scared and starts to back away, but Kiss Shot begins to cry and crawl toward him, apologizing for scaring him. Koyomi runs away in fear, but eventually decides to come back and help Kiss Shot. He lifts her up and promises to do better in his next life, before allowing her to drink all of his blood. Koyomi wakes up later and thinks it was all a dream, but he finds a young blonde child lying next to him. He tries to wake her up, but she won't budge. He goes outside and starts to feel strange. He starts breathing heavily, and sharp fangs can be seen in his mouth. As Koyomi walks outside, he sees that the place is surrounded by crows. He walks down the stairs, and the crows seem to be staring back at him. He continues to walk, but suddenly the clouds part and the sun shines down on him. As soon as the sunlight touches him, his body is engulfed in flames, and he starts to run around screaming. His screams scare the crows away, but Koyomi falls down from the building. The young blonde child catches up to him and jumps down from the tall building as well. As they both catch fire, the child drags Koyomi back into the building, and they both stop burning. The young blonde child then tells Koyomi not to go out in the sunlight, and Koyomi realizes that the child is actually Kiss Shot, the vampire he had helped earlier. She reveals to him that she turned him into a vampire, which means he is now immortal. She explains that his blood wasn't enough to keep her in her original form, so she had to take a smaller form that she could maintain. She tells Koyomi about the vampire hunters who cut off her limbs, and she orders him to take back her limbs from the 3 of them if he wants her to turn him back into a human. So, Koyomi goes out that night to find the vampire hunters who have Kiss Shot's limbs. When he finds them, they start to charge toward him, but a mysterious person stops them. Koyomi thanks the man, and he explains that he was the one who took Kiss Shot to the abandoned school. When they return, Koyomi expresses his concerns about the vampire hunters being able to defeat Kiss Shot, and worries if they will find their hiding spot. The man, who introduces himself as Meme, reassures Koyomi that he drew a boundary around the building to keep them safe. He explains that he is a mediator between humans and monsters and offers to mediate between Koyomi, Kiss Shot, and the 3 vampire hunters. However, Meme's offer comes with a catch. He wants Koyomi to eventually pay him 2 million. Meme tells Koyomi that he'll help negotiate with the vampire hunters and separate them so they can retrieve Kiss Shot's limbs. Kiss Shot agrees to the plan and tells Koyomi to secure the money so Meme can help them. Koyomi's first target in his mission to retrieve Kiss Shot's limbs is Dramaturgy, and she reveals that he is actually a vampire. While studying how to defeat Dramaturgy, Koyomi is approached by his crush, Tsubasa. She is the only person Koyomi considers a friend, as she was the one who struck up a conversation with him on the same day he saved Kiss Shot and mentioned the vampire rumor to him. However, Koyomi snaps at her when she says she would like to meet a vampire and tells her to leave him alone. Tsubasa is confused, and Koyomi pretends to delete her contact information from his phone. She runs away in tears, and Koyomi thinks to himself that his only priority right now is to fight to restore Kiss Shot's body. Koyomi decides to face off against Dramaturgy. Before the fight begins, Koyomi proposes that if he wins, he wants Kiss Shot's leg. But if Dramaturgy wins, he wants to know where she is. They both agree to the terms. As the fight starts, Koyomi quickly realizes that he is no match for Dramaturgy's incredible strength. Koyomi's arm is ripped off, and he has to run away. However, he realizes that his hand is beginning to grow back, and he uses that power to regenerate it using his powers as a vampire. Despite this, Koyomi is still overpowered by Dramaturgy and has both of his arms cut off. He decides to retreat. Koyomi realizes that he needs to come up with a new strategy if he's going to beat Dramaturgy and retrieve Kiss Shot's leg. So, Koyomi decides to attack from a distance by throwing objects at Dramaturgy. This eventually causes damage to Dramaturgy's face and weakens him. Koyomi then threatens to drop a large piece of equipment on Dramaturgy, who eventually concedes defeat. Dramaturgy explains that he can't regenerate as fast as Koyomi, which is why he was unable to defeat him. Dramaturgy then leaves, and Koyomi sees Tsubasa, who reveals that she had been watching the fight. He tries to push her away again, but ends up apologizing for all the things he said before and asks to be friends again. Later, Kiss Shot begins to consume the newly retrieved leg. Meme explains to Koyomi that the reason Kiss Shot's limbs don't disappear and regenerate the same way as his do is that she's a special vampire. This also explains why the vampire hunters wanted to remove her limbs, to weaken her vampire powers. As Kiss Shot consumes the appendage, she begins to transform into a slightly older version of her younger self. This signifies that she is slowly regaining her full power and returning to her original form. She then tells Koyomi about the next vampire hunter named Episode. She explains that he is a half-vampire and is not accepted by full vampires or humans, which has led him to have a deep hatred for vampires. Koyomi meets Episode and the fight begins, but Episode proves to be too quick and evades Koyomi's attacks easily. Episode's cross-shaped weapon combined with his speed makes it impossible for Koyomi to win, and he is forced to run away. During the fight, Tsubasa appears and tries to give Koyomi advice. However, Episode instantly attacks her, leaving her with a deadly wound. While she bleeds out in Koyomi's arms, she tells him that Episode has been turning into fog to evade his attacks. Using this information, Koyomi spreads a large amount of sand into the air, finally getting a hold of Episode. Koyomi releases all his rage upon Episode. However, before Koyomi can kill the vampire hunter, Meme intervenes and warns him that he will lose his humanity if he continues. Koyomi ends up making a deal with Meme to save Tsubasa. Meme gives Koyomi a hint that he should use his immortal body to save her. Koyomi desperately rushes to Tsubasa's side and pours blood straight from his body into hers, ultimately saving her life. He then returns to Kiss Shot and finds that she has grown even more powerful after consuming her other leg. However, she is still not yet ready to fight. The final vampire hunter, Guillotine Cutter, is the most concerning of them all. Kiss Shot explains that he is a human priest who specializes in exorcisms, and he was the one who was able to take both of her arms. Before his last fight, Koyomi checks on Tsubasa and is relieved to see that her wound has completely healed. However, he tells her that she should stay away from him as he is deeply concerned for her safety and is not sure if he can keep his sanity if anything were to happen to her again. Despite this, Tsubasa refuses to leave his side and agrees to wait for him to become human again. Later, Koyomi is back at school when Meme bursts into the room in a panic, revealing that Koyomi made a grave mistake by letting Guillotine Cutter kidnap Tsubasa. He desperately asks Meme what he must do to defeat Guillotine Cutter and save Tsubasa, and Meme reveals that he must give up his humanity. Koyomi meets with Guillotine Cutter, desperate to save Tsubasa. The vampire hunter threatens to kill her unless Koyomi surrenders as soon as the fight begins. Koyomi agrees to the terms and begins to raise his hands in surrender. However, to everyone's surprise, his arms suddenly turn into roots and capture Guillotine Cutter, allowing him to rescue Tsubasa. Despite saving her, Koyomi realizes that something has changed within him. He no longer feels human, but rather like a monster. Koyomi meets with Meme and receives Kiss Shot's severed arms as requested. However, he is confused as to how he, someone with no fighting experience, was able to defeat the 3 vampire hunters who dismembered Kiss Shot. Meme reveals that Kiss Shot was not at full power during the fight and pulls out her heart from his pocket, explaining that she was missing it and didn't even realize it. Koyomi is shocked to learn that Meme was the one who removed her heart, not the others. Meme explains that their original plan was for Koyomi to fight him as the 4th and final opponent. But he has changed his mind after Tsubasa got taken hostage and willingly gives Kiss Shot's heart to Koyomi. Meme then asks Koyomi if he has been feeling hungry recently, to which Koyomi replies that he hasn't had an appetite since becoming a vampire. Meme tells Koyomi that he should start feeling hungry soon as it has already been 2 weeks since his transformation. Koyomi returns to Kiss Shot and they both realize that they are hungry. He goes out to get some food for them, but when he returns, he is horrified to find that Kiss Shot has devoured Guillotine Cutter's body. Kiss Shot explains that she needs to eat in order to survive and maintain her powers as a vampire. But Koyomi is disturbed by what he has just witnessed, and realizes that every human Kiss shot kills from now on will be his fault, since he was the one who saved her life when she was on the brink of death. He becomes increasingly worried about his own future as a vampire, believing that he will eventually become just like her. In his despair, Koyomi goes to the gymnasium to unleash his anger and frustration. He comes to the conclusion that he must be deleted, as he cannot bear the thought of becoming a monster like Kiss Shot. Koyomi decides that before he makes any final decisions, he wants to see and talk to Tsubasa. Tsubasa expresses that she is looking forward to seeing his more gentle side after all of this is over. Even though Koyomi does not mention his plan, Tsubasa seems to sense something is wrong and begs him not to have such thoughts. Koyomi admits that his reckless actions caused the death of Guillotine Cutter, who was actually on the side of human justice, and he did not realize this at the time. Tsubasa asks if this is why he has given up on becoming human and forsaken his humanity. Koyomi believes it would be too selfish to pursue his own wishes after causing a victim due to his recklessness. He believes deletion will be his way of atoning for his sins. However, Tsubasa counters what he wants to do is also a sin, and that he should not run away from the situation. Koyomi then expresses his concern about his growing hunger as a vampire, and how at some point, he may only see Tsubasa as food. Tsubasa, having strong feelings for him, tells Koyomi that she would be willing to sacrifice herself for him if it ever came to that. Koyomi's final concern is that there is no one who can defeat Kiss Shot now that she has recovered her full strength. However, Tsubasa believes that Koyomi has the power to stop her. Her words inspire him, and he becomes determined to stop Kiss Shot. He decides to meet Kiss Shot in the center of a stadium. She asks him to give up his intentions of fighting and offers him the opportunity to return to her side. She believes that they get along well and could live next to each other for eternity, but Koyomi refuses. He expresses his disgust towards Kiss Shot's need to eat humans and his regret for saving her life. He confronts her about what humans mean to her, to which she responds that they are merely a meal. This solidifies his resolve to fight her. The fight begins instantly, and Koyomi's head is punched clean off his body, but his regeneration ability saves him from death. Koyomi tries to kick off Kiss Shot's head, but she also regenerates it right away. Koyomi and Kiss Shot's fight continues to escalate, with both of them dismembering each other in an intense battle. At one point, Koyomi is cut in half, but he simply reattaches his two halves and keeps fighting. The fight pauses briefly when Tsubasa interrupts, believing that she has discovered something important. Koyomi rushes to protect her just as Kiss Shot attacks. However, his body is destroyed, but his head remains intact and he lands on Kiss Shot's neck, sucking her blood. Kiss Shot realizes that Koyomi had stopped drinking her blood and wonders why he did so, considering she still has half her blood left. Tsubasa reveals her theory that Kiss Shot's plan all along was to have Koyomi take all her blood, killing her but returning his humanity. Kiss Shot admits that Tsubasa's theory is true and explains that when Koyomi originally saved her, she had already been wanting to meet her end. She only changed her mind at the last moment out of the fear of death, and now out of gratitude for Koyomi being the first stranger to ever help her, she would like to die for his sake. She then makes another attempt to force Koyomi to kill her by threatening to feast on 1,000 humans every day if she continues to live. She says that she will regenerate soon, and her first victim will be Tsubasa. Koyomi is unable to make a decision and screams loudly for Mime, who he believes must be nearby watching. Mime appears and offers Koyomi an alternative solution. Mime suggests that Koyomi suck the blood out of Kiss Shot until the very last moment when she will be on the brink of the afterlife. This will remove almost all of her vampire powers, even more than when she had lost all her limbs. As a result, Koyomi would still not become a human, but he would be very close to being one. The other consequence is that the only way for Kiss Shot will depend on his blood to feed herself. Kiss Shot is not happy with this plan and insists on sacrificing her life for Koyomi's sake. However, Koyomi has already made his decision. He wants her to live. As a result, Koyomi continues sucking more of her blood until he feels that he has had enough. Days later, he meets with Tsubasa to discuss the changes he has gone through. He tells her that he has gained most of his humanity back, and he is now able to walk out in the daylight again. Watch this next video. See you on the next one.